Good evening. Welcome to the Selectmen meeting of May 10th.
Correct.
We're going to be jumping around tonight on the agenda. We have a full quorum here tonight. We'll do the minutes later on. So we're going to start with Mike Rogers from Maine Revenue Services discussing state valuations. Welcome.
Good evening. Yes, the chairman spoke, Mr. Bruno, that I am Mike Rogers from Maine Revenue Service. I am currently the supervisor of municipal services, which primarily oversees the state valuation, which brings me here tonight. The forms I passed out is, this could go 2 hours, so I'm going to be brief. The first is an explanation of the overall state valuation and the statutes that support that. The second document is the rules to the procedure used to develop the state valuation. Those are administrative rules adopted by the agency, which carry a similar weight to law. These are the rules that we use, and we work within the confines of these rules to develop the equalized state valuation for all 489 municipalities in the 12 unorganized counties in the state of Maine. And the third document is a PowerPoint presentation, which I won't bore you with tonight, because I'm sure you've got plenty on your agenda, which is demystifying the state valuation process. This is what the field reps, there are 10 field reps that travel throughout the state to conduct annually, to conduct the annual state valuation. And this is the process that they follow. They look at the local commitments, which is the basis for the state valuation, the homestead exemptions and so forth, tax increment financing, sales ratio study, which is a big part of the state valuation, and they abatements and supplementals, and they break down the assessments according to categories. That's kind of an overview of what the state representatives does when they conduct the annual state valuation. The fourth or fifth document, I've lost track here, is the 2011 state valuation, which is based on 4/109 assessments, or your 2009 commitment, which would be probably you refer to it as the FY 210 tax year, but it's actually the 2009 commitment. This first document on here is your municipal valuation return. It's a 10-page report that you annually need to file with the state that breaks down your land, buildings, personal property, tax rate, and commitment level. It goes on to how the state valuation for 3-year snapshot on the second page. The third page is where the work is done. Third page, which has the as it says state valuation analysis, has Raymond at the top, of course. Municipal valuation, the left-hand column, is 2009, and those are your valuations broken down into 3 major categories: land, buildings, personal property. Then there's subsets of those categories, and those are extended over to the right-hand column according to sources, either bulletins, Bulletin 25 being the electric utility bulletin, transmission distribution passed out, tree growth rates, which are adopted by the state tax assessor annually, or your certified ratio if it's within 10% of your average ratio. Your average ratio is determined through sales, and in this case, there were a 2-year study used because during this time frame of 08-09, there was a drop in the sales information, and to get a representative sampling, we used 2 years. 2 years was advantageous to the town because it gave a better cross-representation of what was actually happening, other than a 1-year snapshot. Those 2 years of developed sales are put into ascending order, but low ratios to high ratios by dividing your local 2009 assessed value by the selling price. It gives you individual ratios that put in ascending order. Top 15 and bottom 15% are split off, and then it comes up with an average ratio of the 70% in the center. And your combined ratio was 95. There are two distinct environments in the town of Raymond, one being residential properties and the other being waterfront properties. So a segregated study was looked at to determine the average ratios of those two classes of property. The residential properties would be, there were 39 samples in the study, 27 in the center section, and that resulted in a average ratio of 97 and a quality rating of 12, which is excellent, by the way. The waterfront study, 2-year sampling again, contained 24 sales. And for this time frame, 08 and 09, there were 24 sales, again, 15% outliers split off to take care of any unique sales. And they, the center section was added up and averaged, and it came out at 89%. Those ratios, if you back up 3 pages, are applied to the classifications on this sheet. Your values were broken down. Residential land, residential buildings was extended at the residential ratio of 97. Waterfront lots, waterfront buildings were divided by the resulting average ratio for waterfront of 89, projected over on the state valuation column on the right. Portland Natural Gas, we do a state appraisal on that, and that's also, and you were a little bit higher than the state average because we depreciate it every year. It came out at 122%, and for Cumberland County, interior Cumberland County, we use an average of $2,030 per excess undeveloped acre, where the average for the town is for 10,772 acres. Municipal average is $1,328. This $2,030 is used for all Cumberland County towns outside the Route 1 coastal corridor. The rate's twice that for the coastal towns in the Route 1 corridor. Personal property carried out at 100%. Portland Pipeline, again, you're much higher than the state rate on the Portland Pipeline because it's simply an average of their whole system according to the miles they have within a set municipality. All those right-hand column is added up, subcategories added up, and then there are adjustments down below for any net abatements and supplementals that are conducted in this time frame. Homestead exemptions, half of your homestead exemption is reimbursed by statute. It has to be reintroduced into the state valuation, so that is added back in. And your Betty exempt value, any portion that's reimbursed, and for 09 it was 90%. So 90% of your Betty is also introduced back into the state valuation. That's uniform throughout all 489 towns. Your TIF district, the amount of captured value tax is down below there and is subtracted out, $17,445,850 is all added up to $1,063,182,715, and for rules to, it's rounded to the nearest $50,000, which comes out $1,063,200,000. I know that's a lot to digest in. That's about as fast as I've ever done it. Those sales are derived from local sales through real estate transfer tax. All recorded sales are recorded at the registry. Those declarations are then forwarded to the state of Maine. We assemble them by town, then mail them back to the municipal assessor and municipal offices. They fill out this document, hence the name turnaround document, mail it back to us, and then we review this and use this as part of the state valuation document. These are the sales, a portion of the sales that are in this study. This is done on an annual basis, as I mentioned before. Last page is a snapshot. This is a very large spreadsheet. It goes back to '86 state valuation, which would be the 84 municipal year, tax year, or calendar year, whichever way you want to look at it. Excuse me. And I've highlighted towns with similar environments in the area. And over on the right-hand column, there's a 10-year percentage average of increase. The state total of a state valuation went up 97.08%. Well, Cumberland counties went up 97.3, so it pretty much mirrored the state, with the exception of some coastal towns and the lake region. And I shaded all the lake region towns in the area with similar environments. And the town of Raymond, for a 10-year average, went up below. It was the lowest increase for that 10-year average. Now, the state valuation I'm talking about happened to jump 3.63%, where most of them went down in the general area. And that jump was due to new construction and your waterfront ratio that was derived from your local sales. It's not an exact science. You can never account for the human element in the purchase and sale of real estate in any town at any given time. So that is the state valuation in the condensed version.
Very condensed.
Yeah.
Are there questions for Mr. Rogers?
Usually this is a 2 to 3 hour presentation.
We appreciate.
Very slow and methodical, but.
We appreciate the 10-minute version.
Yeah.
Questions? So can we derive from these figures that we're at about 96% valuation right now?
Yes, based on last year's study. The new one has recently been done, and it's sent preliminary back to the town. I think you're actually even a little higher than that. And waterfront decreased in this time frame from the previous year. If you look on, look on the second page of the document. I was just going through the back side of the first page, excuse me. Waterfront ratio the previous year, the 010 state valuation, which represents the 08 year, was 94. This year, for 09 in the 11 state valuation, it dropped 5%, hence the increase in state valuation. Now, this number has reversed itself and gone back up in the next 2-year period. I'm pretty sure. I have the preliminary state valuation with me. I believe it's been mailed back to the town. Yeah.
So when we are discussing doing revaluations, is there a necessity to do any right now? If we're at
No.
95%?
May I get the most recent information if I can
Sure.
walk away
Yeah,
from the podium for
absolutely.
1 second? Brought the preliminary state valuation, which is the most recent audit of the 010 taxes, your FY11 year. And the combined sales ratio was 101%. The residential property averaged 103%. The waterfront property rebounded back to 95%. So overall, you're at 101% with a better than average quality rating. The quality rating is 13. Quality rating is the measure of dispersion between the average ratio and the outliers of all the sales. 20 or below is acceptable according to the assessment standards. 8 to 10 is usually the first year or the second year of a reval. Then it starts to, as the market, it makes inroads and erodes it, because, as I mentioned before, you never can account for the human element in the purchase and sale of real estate at any time. And the dispersion grows a little bit, but 13 is well below the state average of 15 to 16, depending. 16 is basically the state average, because it's a lot of smaller communities and you have a much smaller sampling. So this is what was mailed to the community. Is preliminary. It won't be proposed until October, but 4/25/11 it was, no, April 28th, it was put in the mail. So it should be back in the community's hands for their review until it gets proposed, and which will be in October, and then there'll be a 45-day appeal window for appeal if you're so aggrieved at these numbers. But to answer the question more directly, the most recent study indicates that you're about 101% on an average. 103 on residential and 95 on water. And there were similar amount of sales as the previous sampling period also.
Mike, you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I can summarize this for myself. Mr. Rogers, the reason we asked you here tonight is we were very surprised at our valuation and what happened with our county taxes this year. I mean, that's the whole reason to bring you here for us to get some idea of why we went up so much when we saw everybody else go down. Most of our neighbors go down. I mean, you look at your report, there are very, very few people who went up, and I don't know if anybody went up 3.6%, which is what ours showed. But the reason for this, just so that I'm clear, is that this 3.6% rate was derived from sales from '08 and '09.
Correct.
So if we go back in the real estate market, then Raymond hadn't been hit as hard as we have been hit probably the last 2 years. We've probably seen...
Not correct.
We haven't seen as many of these sales that are far above the valuation in the next cycles from what we've seen. So we're dealing with information that's 2 years old that still showed Raymond in a positive light 2 years ago. But what you're saying is you've looked now at the next year, and we're not as far out of whack, or out of whack I say because we were so positive and others were negative. So we shouldn't see a 3% increase next year in our valuation compared to others?
Proposed, it's preliminary at 5.03% drop.
Drop. So it would be a negative number next year from, okay.
Yeah.
And that is because we dropped the '08 sales, and now you're going to look at '09.
'09 and '10 sales
010,
looked at, and that was,
Okay.
the sale price came closer, the gap was narrowed between, especially with the waterfront sampling. Whether it was an aberration in the sampling that was available or the sales that took place, I can't explain it. As I said before, I can never account for the human element in the purchase and sale of real estate, but those sales that were in that time frame showed the ratio dropping from 94 to 89, then it rebounded the following year back to 95.
I can't argue with the numbers, the way you've presented them and the way the state figures them, given the fact that a lot of those sales were in '08 before we really got into an economic downturn. We do have a lot of waterfront. So it does help me understand why we are so significantly higher than others. And I do appreciate you taking the time to go through this and explain how it works. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions?
From time to time, we hear that we have a need for a reval, but I'm getting from this, from a quality integrity standpoint, when you throw out the outliers, that we're looking pretty good with respect to our reval 6 or 7 years down the road. Would that be accurate, you think?
Very accurate.
And so the integrity looks pretty good to me.
It is above average. There may be a need for class updates or market updates, and if we continue to deflate in certain areas, I mean, that it's going to have to be determined over a period of time, but there's no, from the results of the most recent sales information, I'd hesitate to have a knee-jerk reaction and invest in a reval because they're coming closer together. I mean, the overall average is eclipsing 100%, but your equity level is still excellent. So that means the dispersion between it would be, I mean, if you went and dropped everybody 10%, all it would do was just, you'd have the same tax burden on each individual. It's just that your values would be 10% lower, so your average ratio would come in a little bit lower. Personally, I would wait for another year or two to see if there's a definitive trend going on. Because right now, They're closing the gap that existed a couple of years ago between the classes of property. Waterfront and residential are coming closer together, and they're both moving up. So,
All right, seeing no further questions, we really appreciate you coming down and giving us an explanation. It was very helpful.
yep. Apologize for the wait while I got things together.
Yep, no problem at all. We know you're traveling a long way, and we appreciate it.
Now, time management's not my best forte. It's not my forte, especially when I'm on the phone.
I'm impressed you could do it in 10 minutes, though, based on what we see here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you're very
Thank you very
welcome.
much. All right, we're gonna go now to the update and possible signing of a lease agreement with Jeff Pomeroy.
Hi,
How are you, Jeff?
64 Egypt Road.
Jeff, how have you made out with getting permits from the state?
I have a appointment for the final inspection through the health department on the 24th. It was going to be scheduled for the 16th, but it just wasn't quite ready yet. So we kind of opted today to the 24th. Everything else, the Inland Wildlife and Fisheries is all set. They said they don't need to sign the lease. DOT, the commissioner's ready to go. Just mail it up to him, and he said he's ready to sign it. That's, other than you guys, that's
How
pretty much
about
it.
DHHS? There's been some question on your 55-gallon drums hauling off the
I
wastewater.
talked to her today. We were fine as kind.
No problem.
No problem. No problem. They just were basically talking, and she said she made sure that I had wheels on it and everything else, and I said, yeah, that's what I pretty much proposed in the beginning, and that was it. So, yeah, I talked to her, and she's all set for what's going on with it, and like I said, we just kind of upped the final inspection to the 24th.
How are you looking with your, what was the lingo? Gravity? Or when you're in your boat, you're moving with the waves,
Oh, gamble. Yeah.
gamble, and everything is going this way or that way. You know, how are you going to avoid, or how are you going to alleviate, spills or anything to that effect? Have you been able to invest into any
Oh, yeah.
technology in the aspect that are going to keep you stable, or tying down to the dock will keep you where you need to be, or have you thought
Yeah,
into it that far?
I've pretty much, I'm gonna have 4 posts on each corner. Each post is gonna have a sleeve that's attached to the boat. I'm gonna have a pole that's 4 or 5 feet tall that's gonna be driven into the ground. Every day, I'll just go out and loosen it. As the water goes down, I'll loosen it, tighten it up, make everything all right, and then can't do it. And plus, the weight of the thing is, my houseboat up north, it'll blow 35, 40, and it'll just, a little jiggle. But I'm also gonna tie everything down. The friolators are all gonna have bolted down to the ground. Everything else, it's not gonna do this. If anything, it's gonna do that.
Any other questions from the board? Charlie?
I was wondering, how have we come along on the insurances?
I think you have a copy of it. It was sent to the town today.
I have not seen it, Nancy. No?
Oh, no?
It was sent today?
Yeah, it was supposed to be, so. It's all been purchased, ready to go.
Okay.
It was supposed to be faxed, emailed, whatever, to her today, but I guess it didn't. I'll check on that
Okay.
tomorrow.
And that would be what did we finally determine on general liability for the,
I think it was $1 million and
$1 million.
$1 million
million
and
in
then
occurrence.
$400,000 per occurrence. It's in the lease.
okay.
And they've seen, my insurance company has read the lease, so. And my insurance company is the same as your insurance company on the beach, so they knows what's going on there.
I can confirm all of that with Jeff Vermette. I believe Jeff is working with you as well, and he represents...
Well, yeah, kind of through Lori Noel, but.
Okay. I can get that nailed down tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay. And will there be a need for workers' comp or?
Yep, and I've checked into that.
Okay.
Right now, no. It's just gonna be me and my daughter for right now. Later on in the year, yes, I'm gonna hire an employee, and yes, I've already set up the workman's comp.
Okay. So you'll be the two responsible parties?
For right now.
The 9
Yeah.
to 8, 7 days a week?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and then the other question I had, I guess, did we ever clarify any language for number 9 on public safety issues? The last draft I had was the town desires to address public safety concerns relating to Pomeroy's contemplated use of the premises, and then it's to be determined. So what I see in here that's lacking is any language that relates to DHS and compliance with Bureau of Health. And I think we're in that hybrid mode of, is it a boat, is it a restaurant, is it a cafe?
It's a boat.
It's a boat, so then
It's a
it would be
registered boat.
registered as a boat.
Yep.
So at that point, then, I still have potentially some issues that we haven't clarified within number 9 concerning public safety, water traffic, and issues that may, with people coming and going on the water side of the boat, and what potential enforcement activity we may have on our end to manage that, hoping for your part, Jeff, that it's so successful that you have 7 or 8 boats waiting to get in to buy that lobster roll.
Yeah.
But obviously that creates an issue on the water side, and then any other safety issues that might arise that comes to Chris or Nate's attention going forward. That I know the basic language is that you really can't do anything that jeopardizes the utilization of the beach for IF&W and for DOT as far as on and off onto 302. So I'm pretty comfortable that that language covers us in a general way, but I didn't know if we had any other language that we were anticipating putting in on number 9 for public safety.
I don't have anything.
I guess we'll look at Dennis or Bruce.
Can I ask a question, just following on Charlie while these guys are figuring out? Jeff, you go to a drive-through, and it says, enter here, exit there, flow this way. Here's my naive boater knowledge. Are all steering wheels and boats on the same side?
Yes. Oh, they're not?
No.
Oh, no.
Good, so you're with me then.
Somewhere in the middle.
So,
Well, yeah, that's true.
is there a logical come in this way, go out that way? And if so,
I always pull up to the port side, but
is IF&W, because I mean, you don't want boats, when both people have ordered and they come in and they end up nose to nose, would IF&W say, allow him to put in a buoy that says, enter this side, exit? They're not?
He doesn't need.
They're not
He
keen
doesn't need
on
it.
those sort of navigational aids.
I can put it on the boat.
In
Signage.
any
But they
event,
won't know
Enter,
that till they
exit.
get real close.
in any event, if you have room for
But-
docking of one boat, the others will stay off the,
Okay.
out of the way. That's just the way it's done. People that know boats,
We hope.
Because you really can't paint the lines in the driveway,
Well, it's
so.
not a drive-in, so. Craig, do you have some info on number 9?
I'm just going to read the updated version of
Okay.
number 9. Craig Messenger from the 342 Raymond Hill Road. Mr. Levitt, the number 9 that we have is discusses, Mr. Pomeroy agrees that any time his activity at a floating cafe, et cetera, et cetera. Mr. Pomeroy will have working splash guards installed around the fryers, working smoke detector devices, working carbon monoxide devices, and working type K fire extinguishers and exit signs. That's what we had updated and recommended. I don't know if you
Yes.
need anything else
The latest.
from us. Thank you.
And I guess,
A couple minutes for this
The
meeting.
update version literally came in just like a few minutes before we got here, so they're not.
Oh, okay.
okay, so that wouldn't have been in my packet because I hadn't seen any of that.
This has been
Okay.
evolving right up to just a
Yeah.
few minutes ago with our town
Because we
attorney.
had to remove the language from IF&W and shift things around, so like
Oh, yeah.
literally James Garrett just got to us, so.
Any further questions,
Okay,
Mr. Pomeroy?
great, that's, and mine didn't have the limits either on the,
No, the limits were in there,
yeah, no, not on the draft that I had, but I see it here, so,
on number 11, number 13.
yeah.
I got the old draft and had them in there, so.
Well, anyhow, I think we've got it pretty well complete now.
That's the insurance, it was, that was,
Okay, I know we have one citizen that is concerned about this and would like to speak, so I'm gonna do something out of the ordinary, and since this is not a public hearing, allow her to have some say, if that's okay with the board.
I thought excuse me, I thought we were all done with the,
We are all done.
okay,
But I did say I'm gonna make an exception,
okay.
okay? Diane?
I'm Diane Shively. I live at 70 Deep Cove Road. I appreciate your making the exception. I apologize for not being better informed on town details, to have been aware of this earlier, to come during the earlier portions of the process. I have a whole list of questions. A lot of them have already been addressed and answered. I haven't seen or heard the whole proposal, so I don't know if Mr. Pomeroy, if you folks want to answer. Is the pier that the floating cafe is going to be on contiguous with the swimming area, or is there a gap between the swim lines and the pier?
Chris, or Nathan?
Nathan.
Nathan?
Our intention was to wait till the pier get in and then find out how much room we need. We are going to have to shorten the swim lines up. It looks to be around 50 feet. So instead of 500 feet across, that's going to be around 450 feet.
So you'll have a gap so that they can't swim off the pier or jump
Correct,
off the pier?
correct,
There will be a
yes,
gap between the
yes.
lines. Okay, great, thank you. I did speak with many of the organizations and Inland Fish and Waterways, Wildlife, and others. A lot of them just don't basically have a jurisdiction or a requirement. So a lot of anything that we're going to require or request or put in the contract is something that the selectmen will have to do directly with Mr. Pomeroy as this goes forward. Mr. Gifford, I appreciate your statement about what people do and don't do as common courtesy and protocol with boats. You're kind of around my generation. I think there's a generational shift, and I'm not sure there is as much knowledge about proper boat right-of-ways and things like that. And so I do have concerns, just like you were saying, Mike, about, you know, how are we going to manage traffic coming to the window? And especially if you're familiar with that part of the waterfront, there's a tremendous amount of wind and wave action that comes most afternoons all the way across the Jordan Bay, across the lake, and hits at the peak at the beach there. So it really gets a lot of wind and wave action. And so I guess my questions are manyfold. One is, you know, what are we going to do with boats that are in line, in queue? Is there going to be a flow of traffic? And I think that needs to be addressed a little bit more directly, perhaps, than just allowing, you know, people to use common sense. You know, Sue Collins just spoke at University of Maine, Orono, addressing the question of where is the civility. And I just wonder about how that's going to be addressed. Waste management, solid waste management. If you're on a jet ski and you're coming to get your hot dog, hamburger, steamers, whatever you're getting, how are those people going to manage their solid waste from the water?
I think, Mr. Pomeroy, the last meeting, did you not address that? Because I asked the same question, and you want to address it again?
Sure. I'm gonna have, every time I sell a lobster, I'm gonna have a waterproof bag that you can put the shells in. And I'm also looking into having a 5-gallon bucket with my logo on the side, and every time a boat pulls up, I give them a 5-gallon bucket with their lobster order, so that they can just put the shells in, have it written on the side, please throw away your trash, and hopefully that would work.
thank you.
So I'm on a jet ski, I come up, I get my food, and I drive boat off with my 5-gallon drum and my jet ski. I don't jet ski, so I don't know how many hands I need to jet ski and stuff. And I've got this 5-gallon drum. Now I'm done eating, and I want to get rid of my 5-gallon drum while I'm on the water. How and where do I dispose of it?
Well, I think, you know, you're getting into hypotheticals here. I think people need some personal responsibility. I have a jet ski. I don't throw the trash in the water. I take it home with me, and then I throw it away.
I appreciate that very much, but I have waterfront, and I pick up an awful lot of trash on my waterfront. So is there going to be a waste receptacle either hanging from the pier or a floating waste receptacle so people can buzz back, dump their trays, and... Great. Okay, thank you. Transfer of oversight responsibility for the property. Is your daughter old enough to be legally responsible? Have we addressed an issue if there's an employee there? Is there an age, 16, 18, 21, where the employee is able to oversee the safety of the beach area?
Well, I mean, as a family-run business, there are exceptions in the law, so.
Mr. Pomeroy is going to be responsible for overseeing the beach and managing the waste on the beach. As far as employees on the floating restaurant, I would say that the laws that govern such employees in the state of Maine would be enforced in that instance as they would be anywhere else. So that would be to say that there could be younger employees employed in the food service industry.
Okay.
All employees are going to have to meet the stringent requirements of the town with respect to hiring. That's something that's important to us.
And I understand that this concept is contingent on both parties being satisfied with the way things are going. And one of the clauses is that if it generates complaints from the citizenry, there's a mechanism, a process in order to address concerns. Is that going to be written out within the contract? Is there something you can explain to me on how, as a citizen, if I do find trash floating up, or as a boater, if there are 5-gallon drums floating in the water, what the process is to address this?
There's under number 15 in the contract, there's a default and termination clause in there. Yeah, if you do find trash coming on your property, we need to know that it comes from that restaurant, not just some other place. But we have places in here where we give him a notice. He has 14 days to remedy such notices, and then we go on from there.
So the answer is yes, there's language to address that.
I understand it from that point of view. I guess my question is, as a waterfront resident, is there a way to define what a complaint is if I see unsafe boating or other issues? How do I, as a resident, bring it up as not just that I'm a complaining individual, but that how do I know whether it's going to trigger one of the official complaint clauses in the contract?
I think you deal through our town office to start with, and without satisfaction there, you would come to the Board of Selectmen.
We don't differentiate between complaints. We take them all seriously, record them all. So you'd make a complaint to the town office. We would handle that through the appropriate channels and mechanisms to get the complaint investigated and remedied if warranted. So that's how we'd handle it.
The dock and the pilings and all that, has that been gone through with a professional dock installer, especially if we're having a houseboat that is not going to be moving with the waves? I'm not sure I totally understand that concept. What's going to happen if the waves are crashing in and the boat doesn't move with the waves? What's going to happen with the splashover action at the boat selling window interface For example, if it were to land on the rocks, when we think of Acadia and the people who went to watch the storm, and that action was enough to take a child off the rocks.
The town has not conducted a civil engineering review of the dock system, the floating restaurant, the plans. It is of standard design, though, I would tell you that from what I've seen of docks. And, you know, we have anecdotally discussed it with a civil engineer that we have on staff, and I think at a staff level, we're satisfied that the system is sufficient for the use. Time will tell. I think that it would be prudent for people to be advised of adverse weather, and if the circumstances that you outline occur, and it'd be a bad time to get a hot dog. It might be a bad time to go out on the dock if you had 4-foot waves, but I don't think that's going to be the typical condition, and I think that the design is sufficient for the use from what we can tell. But we have not conducted any engineering studies or reviews. So far as I know, that's not been done for any of the town facilities either. Or probably any of the facilities, or very few of the facilities on the lake, other than engineered systems that may have been purchased from purveyors of such systems.
Okay. And talking about adverse weather, are we going to continue to have the facility open and active during severe thunderstorms, small craft warnings, activities like that, or is there going to be any weather contingent activity, being that it is on the water?
The town's not going to regulate the conditions under which he opens and closes with respect to weather.
And then my only other concerns also are 302 and the parking issue on 302. We're looking to increase and change the usage of that public boat launch beach facility, and I would anticipate that there would be some increased car traffic as well as a significant change in boat traffic. We already have a situation where there's parking on the street and people are getting ticketed, but it's not enough to prevent people from continuing to park on the street. Is there anything that's going to be done differently this season to manage parking on 302?
Not that I'm aware of.
No. It's not a continuous problem. As I explained to you on the telephone, it's a problem that is significant on good days, key weekends, and it's not a problem for the most part during the week, even during times of good weather. We're going to try to put as much effort as we possibly can with our resources into traffic enforcement. I do not believe that it's going to exacerbate the existing conditions, which are abysmal when you have great weather and you have a large crush of boaters who come to the limited access sites onto Sebago Lake. That is a big problem. It's been a big problem. We try to manage it. I doubt that somebody's going to walk a distance to get a hot dog or a hamburger if there are boats and trailers and cars and trailers and so forth parked along 302. I don't think that's going to have a significant impact. I think the potential impact may be, and I don't know if this is going to happen, we'll have to monitor it, and what the state's looking at is, do people coming to this restaurant take some of the boat spaces during the week that would somehow compromise the use of the ramp? That's the thing we're going to be watching for. I don't believe that's going to happen on the weekend. The boaters are there early, the spaces are gone, people will park against the signage prohibiting parking on 302. That's been the history of the site on good weekends.
Can we increase the value of the tickets or make it a tow zone? Some of those signages, you can't read the letters anymore. Some of that signage will need to be, I mean, in my opinion, might need to be replaced this year.
We'll take a look at the signage and
any...
update the signage, and we do from time to time tow. And as far as the increase in fines, that's at the discretion of the Board of Selectmen.
And also, right as you, between Deep Cove Road and the entrance to the boat ramp, there's a period where it becomes legal parking. There's only one side of the arrow that says no parking from this place, so trailers do sometimes leave a big gap, and people who try to follow the rules will park closer to Deep Cove Road. Is it possible to change that so that there's not a limit in eyesight to see what's going on when you get out of Deep Cove Road?
The no parking zone has been determined by the Board of Selectmen under the parking ordinance. That would take, the ordinance would have to change to the length of the parking zone. We have new signs that came in a couple of weeks ago for that whole zone down through there. We've also monitored over the last 10 years what we have for parking violations to weather, to how much traffic is actually sitting on the road, and we'll be watching that too to see if that increases and what increases. Is it boat traffic? Is it single vehicles and whatnot? And then we can readdress it right next year with the parking. I don't suspect we're going to see too much more parking problems than what we've had in the past, but the parking zone would be an ordinance change. Expanding.
Is there actually a legal parking area for these cars and trucks between Deep Cove Road and the beach, closer to Deep Cove Road?
What the parking ordinance says for that section through there is from point, the sign that you referenced to with the one arrow, from that point to just up past Wharf Road, there will be no parking on either side of the road. So when they get closer to Deep Cove, they can park on the side of the road. There's no ordinance preventing that. I think a couple of years ago we had a really rash of it, and you saw them parking down on Deep Cove, actually. And there's nothing in our ordinance to prevent that at this point. The only no parking zone is from that first sign just south of Deep Cove to the Wharf Road, on both sides of the road.
So I do make a plea to the Board of Selectmen if you would reevaluate the parking to try to make it a little more safe for the residents coming and going from Deep Cove Road with the cars and the trailers affecting our visibility and our access in and out of that road. Thank you kindly.
Thanks. We'll monitor that and we'll keep an eye on it.
It's definitely a work in progress,
Yep.
you know.
Okay. Questions? Okay. Go ahead, Sharon.
I think some of those are very valid comments, and I'm sure we'll take those under advisement, particularly the sight lines. We all know what sight lines are trying to come out of some of these intersections, and the need to make sure that the residents who are using those and travelers in general have good sight lines when they're especially coming onto 302. I would like just a clarification from the chair regarding the exception to the public addressing this agenda item, because according to our bylaws in section 11, public to address the board, the public has a right to address every agenda item without exception, unless this is a particular something that I don't understand about our bylaws, is this being an agenda item and not it's neither a public hearing, but it is an agenda item, and our bylaws do state that a taxpayer, resident, or a representative of any organization would have a right to speak on an agenda item.
Well, this is kind of like a work session on this lease. It's not a public hearing. Public comment was already taken. So I don't know what the bylaws say, to be honest with you.
Okay. I'd request that the chair review those, and maybe we can have a clarification for the next time so the public understands clearly whether they have a right to speak before the board.
Well, we also have a section at the end of every agenda item to allow the public to speak.
On items that aren't on that particular agenda. So I think it was the chair who suggested that, and the board passed that to allow the public to bring non-agenda items to our attention during the public comment period. But I believe we've always kept an open policy for residents and taxpayers to speak freely on any agenda item.
And I think if you look at the history, we have done so.
And that's why I wanted a clarification of the exception tonight.
Because I'm looking at this as a lease negotiation and not really a public hearing. So, any other questions? Mike?
Chris? I just haven't heard from you on this, and before we go any further, I'd like to hear, I mean, Chris has been following this, and as far as I'm concerned, we've kind of left this in your lap and Dawn's lap, and where are we in terms of our ability to move forward on this?
Well, Mike, I think I've been working closely with the town attorneys on this lease agreement as recently as 5 o'clock this evening to get the most recent document in front of you. And the reasons for that is the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife and the U.S. Fisheries and Wildlife decided they didn't want to be signatories on the agreement. So that changed a lot of the language in here. We also had added in the most recent document the paragraph on public safety, item number 9 that Craig read to you. Where we are is we're at a point where I would be comfortable with the board moving forward with signatures with the condition that possibly the town manager not sign it until all the i's and t's are dotted on this agreement, because this is still a work in progress. There's a lot of things that have been taken out. The exhibits have been added. I have a pretty good final copy. And then the other thing that needs to be done is with the Department of Human Services is they need to give Mr. Pomeroy a license for food service on the boat. Once he's done that, then I can issue a peddler's license. So we still are holding a license until he gets his license from the state. We did address in the this agreement the fact that the peddler's ordinance was drafted more specifically for portable hot dog stands, and it had some different restrictions for size and limits in our ordinance. So in this new agreement, the attorneys have drafted language to cover us so that the peddler's ordinance would cover this type of a venture. So as far as I'm concerned, he would, if you guys proceed and sign this agreement, his next step would be to get the state to sign his food service license. They would inspect it for health and safety, approve his drinking water, wastewater program, how he's going to keep his food hot and cold, how his service of the food. I think that he has to pass a class on food safe service, and he's taken one class. I don't know if he's finished up the second class, but I think before he gets his license, he needs to do that. And then I would issue him a dock permit. I would like to echo Don's opinion of the dock. I've inspected it on site. It's quality built, it's rugged, it's sufficient for the use that we're going to be using it for, or he's going to be using it for. He's done a good job. Dawn and I were at the site today looking at the restaurant, and we were both very impressed at his construction, the quality of work that he's doing, and the stability of the boat and the dock. So I don't really have any major concerns. I mean, I've had questions and concerns, and I've raised red flags from the day we started this process. But Jeff has addressed everything that we've asked him to address, and I think it's time to move forward.
Health and Human Services won't inspect unless he has a lease from us? I mean, in terms of order of process, how does that work?
No, I don't think that's the case. I think they would inspect it either way. You can sign it tonight, or you can sign it at another night. It's after he's got his license. That's up to you.
Are we holding anybody up, any agencies, anything, if we don't do it?
No.
Okay.
I believe, I think from his standpoint, he's just like to get another T or I crossed so that he can continue. He's got a substantial investment started, and he's about finished it. Do you have anything you wanted to add, or?
Well, to your question, I need to get things in the water. And I can't really do that without the lease, so. The time I'm still pretty much on schedule for Memorial Day, so if the more time I get I mean, the docks are not 100%, but they're enough to get them down there, get them ready to go and everything else, and I can get that ball running, you know, if we do start signing, so.
Okay, thank you.
Where does the board want to go with this right now? Is everyone comfortable where we're at right now with the lease?
Well, I would like to see some language in here on DHS. I know it's referred to by all state, federal, and applicable licenses, and our approval is really contingent on Jeff meeting all of those requirements, but food safety and the restaurant or cafe hygiene issue is, I think, is important enough so that the language of DHS, we have DEP, we have inland fisheries, we have DOT mentioned, but nowhere in this document is compliance. And I know the catch-all phrase of all local, state, and federal is in there, but I'd feel more comfortable that we also referenced in the document DHS. And I guess my other concern is, and maybe Mr. Willard, you can address this for me, is are we comfortable by waiving an ordinance, the peddler's ordinance, i.e. by lease? Has that question been asked, or do you feel confident that we can change an ordinance?
I'm very confident on that question, which I believe was raised by the clerk by an email, has been run by our town attorney, and that's been incorporated into the latest agreement, and I'm very comfortable with the position we're in on that, from a legal standpoint. But that's a solely discretionary issue for the board. You can decide you want to do that or you don't.
I feel comfortable with it. I mean, yes, I wouldn't mind seeing some lingo from, you know, DHHS, or just to kind of dot our I's and cross our T's a little bit. But I know that every meeting, you know, and a lot of people that we see that live from Raymond Cape to Deep Cove, Jordan Bay, that whole area, they all have concerns, just like we do. Like I said earlier, this is a work in progress. We put out there for someone to give us a good idea to be able to open our beach and have it be a useful beach. Mr. Pomeroy did that, and we have no reason to not have faith in him that he's going to make sure that all of our concerns are met and over-exceeded. For that to be a success, that means his business is going to be a success, and he is going to prosper from it. So that is his main focus, probably just as much as yours, if not more. He doesn't want to make you happy. He wants to make your whole neighborhood happy. He wants you to walk over and walk down the dock and be happy to have that as the community. That's, you know, very important to him. He's not looking for just 2011. He's looking at 2012, and I really feel, and there's no reason for me to have any different feeling, is that I have faith in the man, and I feel that he's going to do the right thing. So there may be some legality ends of this agreement that we may not have 100%, but I feel comfortable, you know, with the agreement, and it's a work in progress.
I would venture a guess that, just based on my experience, I would tell you that with respect to the completeness of this agreement, we can certainly add DHS language. I mean, nothing in life is ever perfect, but there's been a lot of effort, legal and otherwise, put into this agreement, this lease agreement, to try to anticipate any and all problems, outline all conditions and parameters of this use. So it is, at this point, what it is, as they say. I mean, if you want something else in there, we're happy to do it, but at some point you have to say it's complete, and I think it's a pretty complete document.
I'm not understanding what DHHS language you want. There's no license issued without meeting DHHS requirements. So.
And we're requiring him to get the license.
Right.
So why be that specific, is what
Right.
you're saying? Right. That's it.
Well, my issue is we've referenced the DEP, and I don't think the DEP has much to do with this process. We've talked to the DOT, their reference. Bureau of Public Lands has been referenced. The major seems like overriding regulatory authority in this process right now is the DHS, yet they're only partially mentioned as a state authority and not specific. So I'm just looking at again, trying to insert that in the same places where we inserted DOT, Bureau of Public Lands, DEP.
But DHHS is the licensing authority, so he has to comply with all their rules and regulations.
Yeah, it's just a
The other thing
matter
is-
of exactness.
The other thing is, in my opinion, you know, you can disagree with this if you want to, but is that we are in a license agreement with some of those other agencies, and it's relative to the use of the land, if you will, the land use specifically, whereas the restaurant use, to me, is a slightly different thing, and a separate regulatory process, separate authority, and not part and parcel to running the park, whereas the DOT, IF&W, the federal Fish and Wildlife people, and the DEP are all regular players in our day-to-day interactions in the park.
I agree. I don't see the need because of the licensing issue, so. Mike?
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with this lease as it stands, because it is a lease. It does not guarantee that he can run his business.
Right.
He still has to deal with the folks that would let him run his business. We're just saying you can do it there if you can
Get all the
complete
licenses
the rest of
and-
the things. So I'm comfortable with it as is. I would like to give him as much opportunity to say, all right, that's done. I don't have to worry about that, except for the fact that I have to follow through on everything and get, I think as Chris suggested, Don's signature as the final and get the license as the final. All this does is give him the opportunity to have a lease and to move forward and show people he has a lease to try this. He may decide tomorrow, you know, as much work as I've put into this, I'm having second thoughts, even though I have the lease, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do anything more with this, and I'm sorry, town, but, you know, the beach isn't gonna be taken care of this year, I can't do it. Because he has the lease doesn't force him to do it, he still has to jump through hoops. So I'm comfortable signing this lease and leaving it to Chris and the town manager to complete and keep us apprised on what's going on.
Diane, you have,
I don't understand.
you need to get to the microphone.
I'm not sure I quite understand the comment that went through and what the implication is that the IFW did not sign off on this. I have quite a number of concerns and talked to a number.
They're okay with the concept. They don't feel they need to sign the lease as part of the agreement.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Here.
We have the email from IF&W right here if you want to see it.
You're welcome.
Okay. We don't need a vote. We've already voted. Are we ready to sign the lease? There's 2 copies. Don has one.
Yeah, I have one, and I think Charlie
And
has
I
the other
have
one.
the other, yeah.
You have the newest 5 o'clock version?
Yeah, these are the
Charlie has one, and then there's one here.
Let me just check number 9.
Do you have any more of those?
Well, there's one,
You're gonna get
Well,
one.
you get one copy.
but you're gonna have to,
Oh, I'm gonna get the signed
you
one.
can take one with you, but it's gonna be no good till you come back for the
Yeah.
final signature, you know what I mean?
Well, I have to send the one
I
to
know.
DOT. Okay.
But I'm not gonna sign it till we get everything
At the end, I'm sure. Is there 2
that we
copies?
need.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's probably send them a copy.
But you can show them,
Can we do
assuming you
that?
get a selectman vote, you can show them
I'll
that,
come in first.
or a selectman signature, I guess he's getting that, right?
Well, no, yeah, well, no.
Whatever
Which is
you
what I
want.
think he needs to show
And
them.
you guys can
So-
coordinate how it goes from here.
Can I just sign, can I send the sign sheet to DOT
Yes,
and then
what I'm
sign it
telling you
back?
is, you can send the signed sheet to DOT, but the town is not fully signed off until I sign off,
Until
after
you-
we get all the approvals. But
Okay.
I think by showing the selectmen's signatures,
Yep.
that's a good faith, and I can
Yep.
explain to the DOT commissioner if I need to.
Okay,
That's who's gonna sign off, correct?
correct, yeah.
So if you need me to do that, I'll do that, explain
Okay.
what's going on.
Can I say a couple words? I just want to thank the Board of Selectmen and the town. This has been great. It kind of proves that the town of Raymond is open for business. And actually, the state of Maine also, they prove it too, that they're ready to do something out of the norm and produce some pretty good jobs, and I appreciate it.
I'm putting a lot of faith in you, Jeff.
Hey,
Yeah, you won't be let down.
Okay,
No doubt.
appreciate that.
Even so far.
we'll let you know, though, if you do.
Okay, so you want to take one with you?
Yes.
Let me check and make sure we got this.
Okay. We're gonna move on. I'm gonna take another item out of order under old business.
Right.
A request for a recall ordinance. I see Frank and Betty McDermott here. I don't see Jack Fitch anywhere, so.
Joe? Before he starts, I just wanted to say I probably should have known better. When I did talk to Frank about this issue prior to our last meeting, I knew that he was out of town, that he was still in his warm place, and I should have asked you to put this on the agenda for this month rather than last month. It would have been better for all involved, I think, to give them a chance to actually be here. So I do want to bring that up and apologize for not thinking it through when I asked it to be on the last agenda, and I should have waited till this agenda.
Okay. You mean Frank didn't want to fly all the way back just for that one item?
I'm ready to sign.
I don't think he did.
Didn't take that advice, so we're back. As many of you know, there are many towns in the state of Maine who do have recall amendments or recall petitions in there available to them. And most of the ones have been voted through in the last couple of years have been voted through because of a particular problem or crisis within a community. And that may not be the time or the place to do that. If you're going to have a recall, the ability to have a recall, it probably should be voted through when there is not a reason, an imminent reason to have one. As everyone sitting here knows that this country is a republic. It really is not a democracy. And the difference between a republic and a democracy is that there are checks and balances in a republic. That's the way the founding fathers set it up. And I see a recall as just another extension of checks and balances. It gives the public, it gives the voters within a community a chance to check on those people that they have elected to conduct their business. May never be needed, but if it is, it's nice to have it ahead of time. And I've talked to Jack about this, and we thought this might be the time to do it when there is no reason to do it. And people can think about the need to have one, and they can either vote it up or they can vote it down at election time. Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions for Frank? Anybody else want to speak on a recall ordinance? My feeling on recall ordinances is they're good to have, but they have to not be easy to do. Because as an elected official, a lot of times you make tough decisions that people don't agree with. And to me, that's not a good reason for a recall. I think grievous behavior, interrupting the public faith and trust of an elected official, those are reasons for a recall. So if we're going to think about a recall ordinance, to me the bar has to be set where it's not easy to do. And that's just my thought. I don't want anyone to be recalled because someone doesn't like them. I don't think that's a good reason to recall an elected official.
And I think, Joe, if you look at the examples here, there are some that have the bar pretty high. There's one that has the bar pretty low. And I would agree that I would never consider the one that has the bar as low as, I think, 25 people. It was interesting to see that a couple of these are written almost identical, so they must have been put through, or one town's using the same as another, or it's, I don't know if it's through Maine Municipal, but I believe it shows a percentage of people in the last gubernatorial election. In our town, that's a pretty big number.
Yeah, you're probably looking at over 200 signatures. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think
220.
from the last one,
2,200.
2,200.
2210.
So I would agree with you. I think it's got to be substantial. It's got to be that. And I also think it should be one, if we can use an example of another town, one that, I don't know if it's been tested, but I mean, it's been vetted by legal. And I would guess that's why some of those are written the way they're written, is they've been rehashed and rehashed. And I also think that a recall needs to come from the citizens. I mean, that's what these do. I mean, it has to come from a citizen-led initiative. I think the ones from Casco and Minot are pretty much identical in their writing.
I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel, but I just need to feel comfortable enough that the bar is set high enough that it really is the citizenry that wants to do this, and not just a group that gets formed to get rid of one person, or the entire board for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
So, Frank?
Joe, I agree with you completely. You really need to set the bar high. I have no problem setting the percentage of signatures to be at 15% of the last gubernatorial election. And I think it should be tough to do. There's no question about that. It really has to be for someone who has been really egregious in what they have done while serving as a public official. Not that you don't like the way they voted.
Right. Well, thanks. Other comments? Peter?
Peter Levitt, Raymond Hill Road. I also agree with setting the bar high, and as far as Frank's comments, I agree with that as well. One thing, if I'm understanding it correctly in some of the models that you've looked at, and I don't know if it includes the Casco, but it doesn't have cause associated with it, meaning there is no listing of reasons why the action is taken.
Some do.
Yeah, I would caution against adopting any model that doesn't allow someone who's being accused not to know what they're accused of, and to go to the Constitution and the amendments. I think it's the 6th Amendment that allows someone accused to know what they're accused of. So that'd be my recommendation. Thank you.
It does say, well, this is the one from Minot. Name the person, the office, the person, and a general statement of the reason such removal is desired. So,
Joe, wouldn't the reasons be largely covered by the Code of Ethics?
Yes and no, I would guess. Yeah, it really is a tough thing. I'm not sure we have enough time between now and town meeting to get this on the town meeting. But if the board is okay with adopting an ordinance, then we can work on it over the next few meetings to make sure we have it the way we want, and either bring it to a special town meeting if it occurs, or to the next town meeting in 2012. I'd like to get feedback on that.
Yeah, I agree that we have to write our own and tweak our own and take some time to choose a model and go. If we could do that, I also think this is big enough, it should go to a town meeting, not a special town meeting. I believe it should be open discussion and have your public hearings next winter potentially. I do agree with Frank that it's something that would be nice to have, and we should have that option. 3 years is a long time if something is out, egregious and there is no other way to, let the citizens speak. So, I don't think that trying to do it in 6 weeks is prudent.
No. I think, the fact that we don't have a charter eliminates a lot of stuff, and we have to kind of deal with it one step at a time, and this may be one of those things that we want to deal with. And another thing that we discussed years ago when we tried to get legislation introduced was to allow towns without a charter to appoint when there's a vacancy on the board, if it is within, not within 60 days of an election. And that's another ordinance that we can do on our own. Statute allows us to do that. So that may be another ordinance we want to think about if we're looking at ordinances right now.
Would a town like Wyndham, they have a charter?
They
That's
have a
something
charter.
that they would have the ability to do in
Yep.
a situation, so you wouldn't
Yeah,
have
they
to-
can appoint someone where we can't because we do not have a charter. So those are two ordinances I would like to deal with, to bring the town meeting next time around. So, Don, if you could make a notation to get that on, probably an agenda item, probably sometime in September. Any other comment?
Other than I agree.
Colin.
What's that?
An appointment ordinance
Yep.
and a
And
recall
a
ordinance.
recall law.
And so you want to see more, do you want to see some more examples, probably?
Yep.
In the intervening time?
Right. Is everyone okay with that? Okay,
Okay.
great. Frank, thanks for bringing that up, appreciate it. Okay, I'm gonna jump around again. Try to get Louise out of here. RSU 14 warrant elections, budget referendums. We'll also do the ballot clerks.
Looks like video, I'll go back to her.
Yeah, it's not good weather for her.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay. First off, we're going to do the RSU 14 warrant articles. You just need a vote from us to be able to put those in?
Yeah, basically what you're doing is allowing the election.
Okay.
And I left some papers there that you need to sign, which I have to return to the superintendent's office.
These right here?
Correct.
And we need to sign on all these
8 of
little
them.
yellow tabs?
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Do I need a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay. Can I have a
each?
motion?
Each one?
No, just to approve all the warrant.
Just to get the RSU election onto a warrant.
Election and budget referendum.
I'd like to make a motion to accept all warrants put forth
By RSU 14.
by RSU 14.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
And I will announce that June 1st will be their public hearing for their RSU budget, and then the election to vote on it will be June 14th, along with our elected officials.
Joe, can I ask a question while we're signing?
Yep.
Louise, you may not know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask anyway. They're having a meeting on June 1st. Can any numbers be changed at that meeting?
No, I don't believe it.
So it's just a public hearing to talk about what the numbers mean before the election on the 14th.
Right. I think they could be lowered just like ours can. They can't be
Yeah.
raised.
So.
Well, actually, I think the way those warrant articles are written, you can go
We
both
can
ways.
raise.
Yeah.
Can raise. I know last year at the public hearing, there were some people that were trying to raise them. I'm not sure whether they did or not, but
They raised about, I think, like $100.
$100.
That was it.
So apparently they can.
I actually moderated that
Right.
meeting, so.
Yeah.
So, all right, so then, Joe, you can listen to this question too. If the number changes, and we've already put a number out on absentee ballots, and we have ballots printed for the 14th, and the numbers
Okay.
don't match, what happens?
The fact is, I cannot give out an absentee ballot until after the meeting on the 1st. There is 7 days, well, 13 days that people can absentee vote for that
For
item.
that item?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ours will start at the end of this week as far as our own elections. But unfortunately, can't for the RSU.
Good, that answers my question, thank you.
Okay. All right, we might as well go on to the next one, Louise. The appointment of the ballot clerks and the wardens.
Okay, this is something that you do for the town every year, and oddly enough, for the state, to satisfy the state, would be every 2 years, but I just bring it forward to you every year, and it covers both. But basically, it's a list of the people that have agreed to be ballot clerks at our elections and town meeting and public hearings and whatever else we might need to check in for a citizen really to be able to vote.
Make a motion to approve the ballot clerks and wardens as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion?
Just
Yeah.
Louise, you've vetted this list, all these folks are,
I was just told tonight that there is one that has moved out of town, so, unless people tell me what's going on. I don't review with them every year the entire list. There are about, 50, 60 names on there. What I do, though, is have a training, and I must say that after the training, those people get a star beside their names, and they would be the first people I would go to. But in every election, whether people are out of town or they get ill suddenly, whatever, I have to have a large list to be able to go to cover all of the seats that need to be filled.
so would we want to have just something in the motion that clarifies that the people on the list pending them being qualified, there must be a qualification to be a ballot clerk, you have to be a resident,
Yes,
registered voter.
yeah, 18 and over, yeah.
Yeah, that is, or is that just left unsaid, and as you vet this list, you'll just take people off? I mean, we're approving the whole list,
Right,
so-
yeah. But obviously, if there's someone on the list that's moved out of town, that name will be struck, even if you've approved them.
So we're approving a pool of possibilities.
Right.
And then if the
Then you
possibility is taken
qualify.
away,
Right.
then,
Okay.
then I don't
With
think
that.
we're saying they can do it from another town.
Right.
They would still have to meet qualifications.
There's still another process after we approve the pool.
Right.
Then you,
And in fact, the law was passed, I want to say 2 years ago, that a person from out of town can come in and be a ballot clerk, which I found interesting. And it was for Portland because they couldn't get enough workers.
Yeah.
okay. I'm good with
You have to be
that.
in the same county, but could be from a different town.
Yeah, it's
I-
like town meeting moderator, you can
Yeah.
not have, you don't have to be a resident.
Right.
So. Okay. Any other questions?
I just want to know who seconded it.
Sam.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you.
Thanks, Louise. All right, seeing Nancy out there all by herself, she probably wants to go home too. Come on up and we'll talk about your draft fraud policy.
Good evening. What you have is a draft fraud policy, which was suggested by our auditors, Smith & Associates, because we don't currently have a fraud policy. The purpose is not because we have fraud, but it is a deterrent itself just by having a policy. It defines fraud for the employees and vendors or whomever may need to know. And it sets the tone that the board and the town will not tolerate fraud.
Yeah, we've had enough embezzlement stuff going on around the state lately, so.
So this policy was drafted or presented by Smith and Associates with no revisions by staff, correct?
This
Or have you changed
policy
it?
was not presented by Smith and Associates.
Where did it come from?
I went on the internet
Okay.
and looked for fraud policies.
My misunderstanding then. I thought Smith and Associates, they
No,
just
they-
suggested
they
the
suggested
concept,
that we have
not the
one.
policy itself.
That's correct.
Has
That-
there been any attorney that has looked at this in any way?
I'm sorry?
Has there been any legal firm or any?
No, this is standard boilerplate fraud
So you
policy.
took one policy?
If you look-
and here it is, you didn't modify or?
I changed the name of the town and added the Board of Selectmen and
I
Don Will, the
thought,
town manager.
my mistake, I had thought that they had actually suggested the language as well, but just the
No.
concept.
That is the concept, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any questions on this policy?
It was really exciting to read, very
Yeah.
depressing to think you have to have one and to read all of, yeah. But it does spell it
I
out
understand
well.
that we should have it, but if it's not, and I'm not downing it in any way, but if it's not what we need.
So I'm not saying that, I was just trying to
In the
establish
fashion,
the
if
background.
if it's not catered to what we would run into, and, or what we would need as a fraud policy, do you feel, because I'm sure you read it 15 times.
This is pretty
You feel that
standard. It's
it
pretty
touches on
standard.
anything that we would run across in fraud action? And
It has a very broad scope as far as
but
defining
define
what
enough
fraud
that is
means.
sufficient.
I mean, one of the things I already see in the policy, Nancy, is that any employee who discovers or suspects fraudulent activity will contact the town manager. I don't see anywhere where someone suspects the town manager and who does that person go to? No,
That's a
no,
good point.
honestly.
No, that's a good point.
Not that I'm saying Don's fraudulent or embezzling or anything, but you always need, to make sure that there's a direction for someone else to go. It's the same with a sexual harassment policy, that if the person in charge is doing it, someone needs to be able to go somewhere with that.
Then that is language that we need to add.
Yeah, you're pretty safe with me, I don't even have the combination of the vault.
But,
On a need-to-know basis.
so I think that's one change that I would like to see. Anybody else have any suggestions on this?
I just have a question. Are any employees that have access to actual financial transactions, are you bonded?
Yes.
And so who are the people who are bonded?
Don is bonded, I'm bonded, and Rita Terrio is bonded.
Rita Terrio. And that encompasses,
We're the only three people that can sign checks and do
Typically,
financial.
I don't sign checks though, but I still,
But you can.
but I can.
and
Is
we
that
on
just
it.
one
And
signature?
we have a very
I was just
good,
gonna ask that.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. It's a double signature?
No, we have
check?
single signature.
Did we have to sign the ballot clerk one?
No.
so should we work on this and bring it back?
I think so.
Do you have suggestions as to if Don is suspected of fraud? Should somebody go directly to the chairman, for
I
instance?
think that makes sense.
I would say that's
Yeah.
where it goes. Basically, like any other complaint, follows that policy.
Any other suggestions?
Dennis?
You know I can't go a whole meeting without speaking.
Keep it brief.
We're talking about fraudulent with money, but I've been at meetings where there have been selectmen, and you just talked about a recall, that have made statements about the way I spend the money that were fraudulent statements. And I'd like to include that in here when we're going to deal with it. I know code of ethics is a part of it, but when people make comments,
False representation is part of it.
What you're
well,
talking about,
I'm saying
though,
include all of us.
if you're talking about with this group, you're probably talking more of the code of ethics for the selectmen.
But it's about money.
I understand, but you'd be talking about the code of ethics.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, and make my comment.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when someone makes, or.
This is for staff.
Okay. I think we're all a part of it, though. I mean, selectmen could put in expenses too, right? For going to a meeting or whatever.
I guess. Yeah.
Just, you know, when you mentioned town manager, I was thinking it should be all-inclusive. And certainly with comments.
Well, yeah, but you always run to the freedom of speech issue of an elected official. They can make the stupidest comments in the world, but they do have more freedom under the First Amendment because they are elected.
I've noticed.
So the point of, if we put in a fraudulent claim for travel.
He has a good point on that, though.
Yeah.
So then there should be some way to, because that is a money issue, not a statement issue.
Yeah. This fraud policy really deals with money.
Right.
Okay.
The other thing, can I speak?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The other thing that you've seen recently, I believe it's the town of Chelsea, where we have a select person who has engaged in some kind of a coercion with a vendor, and we have checks and balances here, which would that isn't a possibility. The selectmen are not that hands-on, and obviously that's a sort of one-horse town situation. But you have a situation where the select person, I think, made some kind of a deal, and so I think Dennis's point is good. There should be language about everyone within the organization.
Yeah.
Town manager, selectmen, staff members.
If you
everyone.
notice, under scope.
Policy, yeah, I think it's covered there, Nancy, actually. And I think the under policy, it goes beyond just financial misconduct.
Because it also mentions intentional false representation.
Intentional false representation or concealment of a material fact for the purpose of inducing another to act that will cause injury. So and in the scope of the policy, it's employees, agencies, other parties with a business relationship.
So would somebody, if it was for the selectmen, somebody would go to Dawn?
That's what I was asking.
Or, I mean, it doesn't spell out, and I think that.
All I'm saying is
If it's the Board of
naming the parties.
Selectmen, it would go to the chair of the board.
What if it was the chair of the board?
It would go to the town manager more likely.
Because that's in our policies too, and then that whole direction. Okay, all right.
So we can certainly make that change.
Yep. So, feel
Why
free
don't we make some revisions, ship it back out for more comments, put it on a future agenda
next month is fine.
next month?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Nancy.
All right. Okay, and we got one agenda item left under new business, the reexamination of tax-acquired property, breach of agreement by David Carey. Is there anyone who's going to address that?
Well, I think it says it all. We made a payment arrangement with him. He made a substantial down payment, and he's basically failed to comply with the agreement that he made with us. So I would suggest the thing to do would be to notify him that we're proceeding down the road and go through the specific steps. I don't have the policy in front of me, but make sure that we're in full compliance with our delinquent property policy and notify him and begin the process again.
So he's now 2 years in arrears again?
I believe that's correct.
Because he brought it up to the minimum.
He brought it
On
on one of the properties.
Okay.
Danielle, I think, is the most knowledgeable. Do you want to speak to this?
Sure.
You're on the spot, Danielle. You
Yeah,
have to go
I
all
know.
the way to the microphone.
This is what they call multitasking.
Yeah, I know. Now
Take the
I'm
minutes.
typing away over
Present
there
the-
right now in my
present the
head. Go for it, Nate. Thank you.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Dominic, put the camera on that one.
Oh, gosh. So what happened is when David Carey came in, he made the bare minimum payment, which was paying off one of the properties, which is $20,000, and a partial payment to pay off some of the liens, or maybe not even really touching them on the other ones, with the promise that with the remaining $15,000 that he would pay on them, because the taxes were lower on those ones because they didn't have a property on it. So I believe Sue sent him out his, I don't know if it was 30 or 15-day notice or which notice it was, but she sent him out a notice saying that if you don't act on this in start making your payments like you said you would, I would bring this before the Board of Selectmen, and he hasn't acted, so. Basically, we're looking to know what the
Start
steps
the
are.
process all over again.
Yeah, and I do want to make a slight clarification on your memo. I said that it was Valley Road that was also not sold, and that's incorrect. We did sell Valley Road. It's 0 Boulder Road that we didn't sell. It's a very small, like half-acre property with, I think, right away to the water. So that's why it's so high.
Okay.
Joe?
Yeah, Mike?
This person must have paid that 20,000 somewhere around the 1st of January or the 1st of the year.
Oh, I actually think it was in March, if I remember.
No, it had to be before
Right,
the...
that's right,
It had to be
because
before the
properties-
January 14th
Right.
deadline because these properties were listed on the final
Yep.
official notice.
It was like shortly after.
It was shortly. I guess my only question would be, it's been that, I guess we haven't gone by a year end, right? So we can't have anybody new on the list. Is that correct?
Not yet.
So I think sending the letter is appropriate to this person that, they're in the pipeline again. But I don't think, even with the policy, that we should have another pipeline until we have more than this on it. It just, the effort involved to go through the policy, and obviously it would have to come to the board, but I guess my recommendation would be wait till after the first of the year to see if there's going to be more properties to put on the
I
budget.
guess what I'm suggesting is that we send them a demand letter.
Right. I agree with that, but not, yeah, that's...
I've already sent him something.
I'm going to send him a little something extra.
Yeah, I think a letter stating that the Board of Selectmen is going to begin
Yes.
The process of foreclosure on this property.
Correct.
So I'm not sure I want to wait till after the first of the year. I just, because that gives them a whole year to not pay taxes. I'm not, I just.
Well, no, it gives him 6 weeks. I'm talking
You're talking fiscal year.
Right, because that's when more people would come on the list, right? July 1st?
Foreclosures were just done in March, and
Right.
we went another year into foreclosure.
Another year. But are there new people in March that went on?
That I don't know.
Okay. So for our next meeting, if we have information about this property, we should also have information if there's anybody new in that pipeline so that we understand. Yes.
But in the meantime, should I send the letter?
Yes, I was just, I just wanted to I just thought time had passed, and if we're going to do this policy once a year, I think we should have waited till whatever, I thought it was January 1st, but it was March. I mean, July 1st, but it was March, so, yes, thank you.
Okay. I guess I'll ask for a motion and a formal vote.
I'd like to make a motion to have a document printed pertaining to David Carey's taxes that are owed for map 030 lot 003, map 030 lot 016, map 031 lot 003, map 031 lot 002, and send to the gentleman.
Second.
Any further discussion? Yeah, sure.
Again, I'm not sure if it's absolutely necessary, but I would add, in accordance with the tax-acquired property ordinance.
Yep.
If you would accept that as a...
Sure.
Most definitely.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous? All right. Let's go back to the minutes, get the minutes out of the way. We'll start with the minutes of April 5th.
Motion to approve the minutes of April 5th, 2011.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on these? All those in favor? Unanimous. April 12th.
Motion to approve the minutes of April 12th, 2011.
Second.
I wasn't here.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Charlie?
Just to remind the public again, and I'll probably do this occasionally, is that these are representation of the minutes and the official minutes of this board, the DVDs, and they're available at Town Hall. You can see them on Channel 2, TV Channel 2, and I believe the library also has a copy.
And online.
And they're also online.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? 4 yes, 1 abstention because he wasn't there.
I thought I wasn't there.
You weren't.
I wasn't. Said I was.
You did?
Yeah, all right. That's the 4 o'clock one. I wasn't there. The one before that, I was there too, but I thought it said I was. See, it said I was absent.
Should be at the
workshop.
April.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Do we actually need minutes for a workshop?
I was asking that same question.
I don't think we do.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I was going to ask that question, and
That's
maybe
not
it
really
be
a...
tabled until we find out the answer.
Well, if the official record is the DVD, there is no DVD,
That's
so,
right.
so I guess that would answer the question.
Right.
So maybe we don't need these.
I don't think you do for a workshop.
Okay, well, we haven't really had I don't think we've had a workshop since we've had the DVD policy.
Diane?
How does the citizen find out what's been done in a workshop, or are they closed, or are they open?
No, they're open. They're open to the public.
So can we have minutes as long as you have them, and so that if I wanted to read what was discussed, it would be available online? If you don't have them, then there's no access.
Yeah, a workshop is really like an information set meeting. It's kind of like an educational thing. There's really no policy
No
discussed.
actions are taken.
No decisions are made. It's
Right.
more informative.
But I could have gone online if the minutes had been approved before this meeting. I could have answered a lot of my questions and not taken all your time by going back to those minutes and have educated myself, as opposed to coming in uneducated.
But those minutes are for a public meeting. A workshop,
Okay,
is a
that's fine.
public meeting, but there's no action taken.
Okay.
And the DVDs, if I can say, are available within 24 hours of these meetings. We start loading them online like the second this meeting's done. Well, not the DVD, but the online ones. The DVDs are usually within 48, so.
So I'm gonna make the ruling that we don't need minutes for a workshop. Charlie?
Just a point, I think, Diane, you do point out, is that particular workshop was not DVD'd. It wasn't online, so I think I do agree with you. If we're educating ourselves on a topic and it's a workshop, and I think, for instance, we should have workshops on the budget, that would be very informative, not only for the members of the board, but also for the public. So going forward, we may want to look at an either-or situation, somehow where the public, if they can't be there at the workshop physically, that they have a way to get at the same information. We might have had Mr. Rogers as a workshop on the state evaluation rather than at the meeting, but it might have answered quite a few questions for those who had those issues with the valuation. So probably going forward, we may want to consider an either-or.
We're up to public comment. Is there anyone in the public that wants to make any comments, Diane?
Diane Shively, 70 Deep Cove Road. While we're talking about the usage of the Raymond Beach and having the floating restaurant and changes in usage of the water, and whether people who have boats and jet skis understand the rules and regulations. I know when I was a kid growing up, when I had to take a boating course and talked about right-of-ways and things like that. I'm not sure if people on the water, when they buy a jet ski, if there's any regulations that they have to, requirement that they learn what the rules and regulations are. And I've been down to the boat ramp. There's a lot of information about invasive plants, but there's no listing of what the requirements are on the water. For example, the 200-foot no wake zone, the 200-foot no jet skiing around the shoreline, things like that. It's not Mr. Pomeroy's obligation as part of his business to provide that information, but certainly affects the quality of life on the lakes if people know what the rules and regulations are. So I'm not sure if and how we might be able to incorporate any of that information either as a waterproof poster at the boat launch area, so when people are standing around waiting to put their boat in or out and they're bored, they can look at the poster and say, oh, isn't that interesting? You know, we're not going to require any sort of a buoy or statement on his boat to say, you know, you have to have no wake and headway speed only 200 feet from his establishment from the shore. But it seems to me that it would be wise, where we do have so much water frontage, the value of the water frontage adds so much to the town, and the quality of life of people on the waterfront is affected when people do follow the rules. It would be nice if there were some way to provide some education at those sites where boats go in and out. Thank you.
Thank you.
State issue.
Okay. All right, town manager's report.
I'd like to confirm the date of the next meeting at June 14th.
You know, June
is that?
14th is election day, and we don't normally have meetings on election day.
Well, we've had a mixed bag on that. Probably not in the recent past, we haven't, but would you like to flip that back? Well, we flip it forward a week, I guess. We have to flip it forward a week.
I think last year we had the town meeting and called that our monthly meeting because there wasn't much on the agenda.
Excuse me.
I think we already have like 5 things in the queue for June, so there would be, I think, 3. That's like 8.
I would suggest June 21st.
Okay.
I'm unavailable, but that doesn't mean you can't have it. Oh, wait, no. It's the 28th, I'm unavailable, sorry.
So the 21st?
Yep.
All right. Do you want to basically just, I guess that you want to make that a standing policy that you don't want to have a meeting on any kind of election day?
I just think it's
Be better?
better.
Okay. Absolutely.
Have a meeting
So
on
I have some,
election
can we keep
day.
rolling?
I won't know whether to go.
I just have some announcements. The annual town meeting, of course, will be June 7th, 2011, starting at 7 p.m. at the Jordan Small Middle School gym. And we have our referendum and election of town officials on June 14th, 2011, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Jordan Small Middle School gym. And we have an addition here that came about in the last couple of days. Louise attended a elections training, and we discovered that we should be having an additional public hearing. We've had a planning board hearing, I believe, and an opportunity for the public to have some comment through that process on the referendum issue, specifically the conditional rezoning to permit a cell tower or not. And so we're going to, in talking with Joe today, schedule a Board of Selectmen hearing for that question on May 31st at 7 p.m. here at the Digital Broadcast Studio. So anyone who has any interest in that topic, making comment that is on that topic, is encouraged to attend that meeting. It will not be to provide any new information, but rather a public hearing for the Board of Selectmen to hear comment on the referendum item.
So did everyone get that? That's going to be on May 31st. And then June 7th, we have the town meeting. June 14th is the election.
And the 21st will be the regular
will be
meeting.
the next regular meeting.
So we have a busy time coming up, it looks like.
Okay. Anything else?
That's basically what I have right now.
Okay. Selectmen communications. Go ahead, Joe.
I'm going to revise my order here since Don covered the Selectmen's public hearing for May 31st on conditional rezoning. I just want to say that restores my faith, and I know Mr. McDermott spoke about us being a representative democracy, but I also believe we're a model for a bigger concept about democracy, and so it restores my faith and it validates my opposition to the referendum without public comment regarding having a ordinance change of this magnitude without an opportunity for this community to discuss it. So I'm very glad, and I think many other people will feel confident and comfortable about the process now going forward. I also want to thank Mr. Willard for his speedy review of my request to examine the town's personnel policy regarding employees accepting gifts. I think in light of what we've all seen to be the recent events at the Maine Turnpike Authority, I thought it was appropriate that we as a town review our policy to make sure that, again, as we're going forward with a fraud policy, that we're also making sure that we are transparent and that the public has confidence, and the taxpayers, that everything is done above board in the way we conduct our business. In making that request, and sometimes I know I may ask a lot of questions, but I hope by asking questions we all get answers, and that's really one of the roles I see, or responsibilities I have as a selectman. And Mr. Willard directed me, because part of my question had to do with tickets that come from for events at the Cumberland County Civic Center, and so he directed my inquiry also to Peter Crichton, the Cumberland County, is he the business manager?
He's the county manager.
County manager. And Peter got back to me and filled me in on the process, and I just want to share that with the public, that there seems to be 3 entities that receive from promoters of events at the Cumberland County Civic Center receive free tickets to events, and that is the county manager, county commissioners, and trustees of the Cumberland County Civic Center. So now that we all have an ability to share that information, I would suggest that anyone who is a taxpayer in Cumberland County, certainly I would suggest you either contact Mr. Crichton or a commissioner or a trustee should you want to avail yourself to these free tickets. I think since taxpayer money, whether it's quasi-public, because that's what the Maine Turnpike was, quasi-public, that this is information, and if it's a burden, then possibly then the county and the Civic Center has to re-look at its gift-giving policy. But right now, as far as I can gather from the questions that I asked, that those 3 entities, should you have an inquiry about any event at the Civic Center, if there's free tickets involved, I'd recommend you as a taxpayer contact, and you can get those names online on the website. And again, I will make my 6th request for a letter of appreciation for former Selectman Dana Desjardins. And for tonight, since I don't want to cause staff to have to do a lot of research because of my request, because I think it's the right thing to do.
Any other communications? Mike?
I wanted folks to know that the GPCOG, Greater Portland Council of Governments, currently going through its budget process. This year, there was no increase in our dues, and there hasn't been an increase in our dues since the year 2000. GPCOG's dues are based on population, and so it is the recommendation of GPCOG's board that next year those 2010 census numbers be used. So I think we can expect a small increase in Greater Portland Council of Government dues for next year in terms of the number of people we have, because our population did go up slightly. It does not mean that the board will keep the same rate. but do expect a change in how that is figured. Most of the GP-COG dues are used to get matching grants. I'll keep you apprised on that as I know. Second thing I have from Greater Portland Council of Governments is the GP-COG annual meeting will be on Thursday, June 9th at the USM Glickman Library on the 7th floor. And kind of following up on Charlie, Peter Mills will be speaking, and will be speaking about the Turnpike Authority, as it is now his interim position, I guess, and we'll be using this time to update folks on what he's found and accomplished or plans to accomplish in his short term. So Peter Mills on June 9th, 11:30 to 1:30 at the Glickman Library, and lunch is provided. So, thank you, Joe.
Yeah. Any further comments? I'm just going to say that there's elections coming up. I'm not sure if the absentee ballots are ready yet. I think they are.
I think, yeah,
May 19th they'll be ready.
end of the week.
Okay. We have 2 people on the select board running for re-election, Lonnie Taylor and Sam Gifford, and former selectman Desjardins is also running for election. So just to let people be aware that there is election on June 14th. I encourage you all to come out and vote, and that's it. Yeah.
I think there's also 2 folks running for the Budget Finance Committee, but I think there's just 2 slots available, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Marshall Bullock is running, and I don't know, Tacey Hartley.
Yes.
Yep.
And I'm not sure the RSU seat.
Katrina Sangster.
Right.
I think is the only one.
And I think that's the only.
Right.
Yep. So. Okay.
Yep.
Fiscal warrants.
I'd like to make a motion to accept payroll expense summary dated 5/10/2011 for the amount of $92,268.21.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
I'd also like to make a motion to accept treasurer's warrant dated May 10th, 2011 for the amount of $91,272.39.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. That's it?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.